Here we go. Slowly you can see people coming in. Welcome, everyone. Hello, everyone joining. We'll just give it a couple of minutes just to allow everyone to come in. But thank you for waiting, just bearing with us a couple of minutes while we just got ourselves set up. I see lots of people are trickling in. So welcome. Just while we wait, I can see some names that I recognise, which is lovely. Just while we wait just for people to come in, what's always quite nice as our student body always really diverse is if you want to let us know where in the UK and where in the world you're joining us from in the chat. It also checks that I've set the functionality correctly, but also lets us know where around the world you are. If you pop us in the chat, it's always nice for us to see. Here we go. Ah, perfect. We've got from Gibraltar to Derby. Perfect. India, Canada, fabulous. What else have we got? Jazz is dialing in from Singapore. Seraphima from Greece. Hello, nice to see you. Michael in Hong Kong. Perfect. In Zurich in Switzerland. It's quite a drizzly day here in London today, so hopefully we've got better weather wherever you are. Perfect, lovely. Everything's working brilliantly. So and I can see we've got plenty of people in. So brilliant. Let's get started then, without further ado. So today's session is a opportunity for you as offer holders to study law here at Queen Mary, to speak to and ask questions from some of our fabulous alumni who I've got here on a panel for you today. Please do ask anything that you would like to ask. We kind of saw that there was a lot of questions coming through to us in the law school about careers, about employability, about how to make your LLB degree work wherever you are in the world. So hopefully this session will be helpful to you. So kind of listen to your questions and decided to do this as a result of that. So I hope this is helpful for you today. Just to start off with, in terms of functionality, the chat is working perfectly, which is fabulous. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them throughout. We've got the Q&A or the chat function available to you, so please use that. And we will go around the panel and get questions for you answered. So please have a look through there and I will monitor it as we go along. So to start with, I should have introduced myself. I'm Charlotte Burton. I've met some of you. I can see the names I've recognised. I'm the school marketing manager for the School of Law. And I've got a colleague. I'll start with Pash first. My colleague Pash here today. I'll let you introduce yourself and your role as a fellow Queen Mary member of staff, and then we'll go on to the alumni.
Hello everyone, good afternoon and good evening, and perhaps even good morning from wherever you're joining us from. Great to see such an international body represented in the chat. So I'm Pash, I'm a colleague of Charlotte's, though I sit in the Careers and Enterprise team. I'm standing in for my colleague Sarah today, who incoming students you'll have an opportunity to get to know and hopefully build a really strong relationship with. They'll be your school's careers consultant. I myself represent another faculty, but here supporting and representing the services and resources the career service provides for all students.
Perfect. Thank you, Pash. Okay, so alumni, I think what would be really nice if we go around and you could say who you are, what program you studied when you were with us, maybe when you graduated as well, and what you're doing now. So Linda, would you like to go first?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. So my name's Linda. I'm from Vienna, Austria. And I've done the LLB at Queen Mary. I did the global law program. So that allows you to do like a year abroad outside of Europe. So that was very cool. And I can happily talk about that in a bit. And I graduated in 2021, I will say. I don't know, it's been quite a while. Sorry, I didn't brush up on that. But yeah, so it's been a couple of years ever since. Exactly, yeah. And I did a master's after that, and now I'm working at Freshfields, which is a law firm. But yeah, I'll elaborate on that in a bit if any of that is interesting.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Arjun, would you want to go next?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm from New Delhi, India, and I came to Queen Mary in 2016, and I was there till 2019. I did the plain LLB program. Uh, After which the pandemic happened, so I went back to India, and I actually made use of that time. I tried to qualify in India, or sort of, it's called a bridge course, so that's a different conversation. But then I got back into the UK and I did the bar program, the BPC. Then I did the pupillage, and I got a job back in India. I completed my conversion. I qualified as a lawyer, and strangely, as of the last 6 months, I've actually opened a contemporary art gallery of my own as well. But that was 2019 when I graduated.
That is so interesting. What a pathway to go down.
Yeah.
Alia, what about you?
So I started Queen Mary in 2015. It feels like ages ago. And I graduated in 2020. I was initially supposed to do the traditional LLB, like most law students, but I then took 2 years off. I did my degree in France, like an accelerated LLB there, and a master's. I know now that there's a formal dual degree between La Sorbonne in Paris and Queen Mary. That I think that started a year after I applied to do whatever I did. And the Queen Mary degree, the 3 years at Queen Mary enabled me to pass the New York bar, which I successfully passed in 2021. And I then did my French qualification. So I'm now officially qualified in France as of a couple weeks ago. And I, in the interim, got two training contract offers in London. I'm debating whether to qualify back in France where I'm training at Kirkland and Ellis, or going to London, doing my training contracts. I am applying to NQs as well in London. So a wide array of choices that Queen Mary has given me.
Brilliant. That sounds great. And while we wait for questions to come in, I'll just start off with some questions for you. Is there a certain, Linda, you can kind of go first with this. Is there a certain area of law that you're specializing in now? Obviously, you said you did a master's afterwards.
So right now I work in dispute resolution, like that practice area. I was very interested in criminal law generally during Queen Mary, and I did I think every single criminal law course there is to take there. After that, in my LLM, I actually tried to focus a bit on like the business side because I just thought that I didn't really explore that yet. So I did a business law certificate there. And I also took the California bar exam after that. So that's also quite interesting and nice that you took the New York bar exam. So there's quite quite similarity. But yeah, so I think I would say I'd primarily focusing on criminal law aspect and litigation, pre-litigation, but yeah, primarily during my studies and also ever since now at work.
Perfect. And there's actually, Linda, a question Jonathan's sent in for you is why did you choose to work in the Magic Circle, and what steps and measures would you advise to take to secure a training contract there?
Oh, it's interesting because I can't see the question myself.
Oh,
but
that's funny. Sorry.
yeah, no, so sorry. So maybe let me know if there is a question. I didn't do a training contract. I work in Germany at Freshfields as like a transaction lawyer as a position. So it's basically for foreign attorneys, which I did now with my California bar exam. Since I'm qualified there, I get to work here. So I didn't do the same route as probably most other people with the training contract process, but I did want to work at a law firm generally. So I know that there's like other opportunities, of course, as well. Like I did also apply for internships at like PwC or Deloitte, but did decide in the end that I'd rather want to work at a law firm. And as to why Freshfields or why that firm in general, it was one of the only opportunities that that was offered with the like transactional lawyer program. So I thought that that was very interesting for people who studied abroad. And I don't think a lot of other law firms offer that. So that's actually primarily why I chose that route.
Perfect. Thank you. John, what about you? Have you got a specialist area? Obviously, you've got your gallery, which is a completely different area.
That's a completely different thing. But again, like while growing up at Queen Mary, because you really grow up in law school, you don't grow up before that. I did enjoy Queen Mary. I did enjoy Queen Mary's criminal law program. I studied lots of criminology. When I, graduated, I wanted to do economic offenses because that sort of bridges the gap between corporate law and real criminal litigation. So that's what I do till now. I do economic offenses, white collar crimes, and tax law in India. And tax is actually a boutique practice, but yes, Queen Mary is registered under the Bar Council of India. Yes, it is. The Bar Council of India is a bit confusing. So they recognize London University. It's supposed to be University of London, which covers all University of London colleges. But yes, I do tax law in India now.
Perfect, lovely. Ali, what about you?
So I'm currently in finance, financial law, leverage finance specifically. I think you'll find that what you find interesting in law school could be vastly different in practice. So much like Linda and Arjun, I loved criminal law. But then the day-to-day practice I find in transactional work, whether that be corporate finance, whatever it is a bit more fast-paced and less research-based, and more drafting is involved. And I thought that suited me better. So just bear that in mind when completing your LLB, but definitely do take classes that are of interest to you, because you'll be more likely to study harder on those and get that honors, which is ultimately what is very important to secure a training contract in the UK.
Perfect, thank you. And I suppose you're all kind of unique because you've gone back to your to other countries rather than staying in the UK. Did any of you sit the SQE at all?
No.
No, that's fine. We've had a question about completing SQE. Do we sit? When do they sit it? For example, can you do it while you're doing a training contract? There's lots of guidance for this. Aaliyah, go on.
Sorry, I just want to intervene because I do have training contract offers and I had done the LPC, so they didn't ask me to sit the SQE. But how that would work is that they give you the offer 2 years in advance, and you'd be expected to do SQE1 in your first year, SQE2 in your second year. And I know that at my firm, Mayor Brown, they have kind of deferred places. You'd have to start later if you failed one of the 2 tests. So do bear that in mind. But all in all, like the success rates are really high compared to other jurisdictions. And I've done Barbary, for example, for the New York bar. It was amazing. So I don't doubt that it would be amazing too for the SQE.
Perfect, thank you. That was very helpful, even for someone that hasn't done it themselves. So you obviously have a lot of knowledge. This one is kind of thinking way back. Did anyone do IB? Thinking back to your high school. Linda's nodding.
Yeah, I did the IB.
So someone's asked, is law in Queen Mary harder than the IB program?
Oh, again, sorry, I can only see a couple of questions for some reason, but I guess so. Yeah, it's just very different. Like, I guess high school versus university, like at Queen Mary, you're kind of studying all year around, whereas I guess with the IB, you do have your phases where before you sit the exams, you're like cramming, but I think throughout the year, you're kind of just like doing your homework and getting by in a way. So I mean, I would say it's kind of different. It's probably a little harder, but I wouldn't say that it was unmanageable or that you were super overwhelmed. Like for me, I had a good time. It was, you study as much as you study and get the grades that you get. But yeah, it was a good experience overall. And I think the IB did kind of prepare you a bit for that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's hard to compare, isn't it? High school qualifications to a degree and a kind of a different way of studying as well, we find. So someone's also asked, what type of extracurricular did you partake in during law school that helped with your employability? Arjun, I see you look like you're about to say something.
I think moot courts. I think lots and lots of moot courts. Lot of pro bono work. And I think it's also interesting to do that because it really pushes you into the real world before you graduate. But I did a bit of pro bono work. I wasn't much of a debater or a moot court person. But I think you just pick one and you just focus on the academics, and that's sufficient enough, I think.
Totally. And someone's actually asked, are we allowed to gain experience at the same time doing pro bono work? So I think that's kind of answered it. Did you work in the legal advice centre, Sure.
Yes, I did. Yes, that's highly recommended. It's a brilliant exposure to the real world.
Would you mind elaborating on what it is and
Not at
what you
all.
got
I
from
mean,
it?
so the Legal Advice Center is sort of like a sister branch of the law school at Queen Mary, and you shadow real qualified lawyers in handling matters of local people around Mile End area or the whatever sort of cases or issues come to you. And I think it's an overall experience in drafting, everything from drafting to appearing in court to finding solutions. It's almost like doing these theory questions again and again and again. So it does help you in even passing your exams, honestly. I think it's a great practical experience while remaining theoretical.
Brilliant. And I don't know whether they had this when you were studying with us, but they now have modules as part of working in the Legal Advice Centre. So you can actually take it
I don't know. Maybe
now.
I don't think, yeah.
Yeah, so as like an optional module you can choose to,
Yeah, of course. I mean,
which is
it
brilliant.
totally goes hand in hand with with the course in general. I don't think you really are handed over anything that's completely out of syllabus. Everything is really part of the curriculum, and you will touch it somewhere in your legal practice.
Absolutely. And I think it's worth mentioning that depending on the year that you're in will depend on the advancement of the work that you do in the
100%,
Legal
yes.
Advice Centre. So you're not thrown in at the deep end in your first
No.
year and made to do something
all.
that you wouldn't feel comfortable with. As
Yeah.
time goes on, it becomes more advanced.
I think when I was there, they even sort of, seek your advice as to what are the topics you enjoy more. I mean, are you someone who's more inclined towards torts and, contracts, or are you someone inclined more into property? So you do get to choose what you want to take on at the Legal Advice Center also.
Perfect. Thank you. Aliyah has just had to jump off for a moment. She'll be back shortly. So there's a few questions in the Q&A that have mentioned asking Aliyah specifically. So we'll get back to them. Linda, did you take part in any extracurricular stuff while you were with us?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that I was also a student advisor at the Legal Advice Center. So that was really cool because you got to work on real life cases. There's also a lot of other associations you can join. So I kind of jotted them down because it was quite a few throughout the 3 years. But there was also like the Freedom Law Clinic, which I was a part of, which where you kind of just reviewed cases and saw checked if there were grounds of appeal that and revisited all the evidence. Then I was also part of the moot court competitions, part of that for the Bar Society, which was really nice. Then there's also ELSA, which probably most of you guys have heard of, but I was a director for the seminar and conferences, where we just organized a bunch of events and lectures and hosted a lot of different events around current topics and areas of law. Then I also did the Spite for School project, which was also part of the Legal Advice Center, which was just workshops on for secondary school students for image-based sexual abuse. So that was also very important. And then also the IMU project at the LAC. So there's all the time different projects that you can join. And that was also for the Equality Act, also giving workshops to primary school students. So yeah, I think as you can see, there's so many things you can join throughout your time there, which was very rewarding and was also nice to meet people and get to know more people in law school and also just partake in many different activities. So yeah.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Someone's also asked, and Linda, you might be able to help with this as you've kind of gone down the dispute resolution work in terms of commercial awareness. So someone said it's known, and Arjun, jump in if you want to contribute as well. It says it is known that employers like to see commercial awareness. How did you expand this during your time at Queen Mary?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So my interviewing process for my job was not as, I'd also prepared all those questions, but that it was a bit more, it was more about me, what did I do versus how, my experience in the past. So I didn't actually have to answer that question. But I think, maybe just joining all the different organizations, attending all these events and really showing how you can, be part of all these different events at Queen Mary is definitely a good way to showcase that.
Perfect. Just a second, I'm just checking through the questions. There's so many come in on the Q&A. Sorry if you can't see it, Linda. I don't know. Arshan, can you see the Q&A? Or can you
Yes, I
just see
can.
the
Yes,
chat? Oh, I don't know why you can't see it, Linda. How bizarre. I'll see if I can, if I make you a co-host, maybe it'll let you, and you'll be able to see them. There's lots in there, lots to get through. So, Pash, there might be stuff that you can help with here. So they're saying about how would you recommend that we tailor our CV and covering letter to stand out?
Yep. So what you'll find is that your school careers consultant will do what we call sessions in the curriculum, i.e. coming into your timetable activity and hopefully covering a lot of the fundamentals, including, what type of things you should be doing in the first year, explaining the SQE process. I know one of those sessions Sarah delivers is on tailoring your CV for roles within legal professions. That's kind of a catch-all activity where we're coming in front of you. But what we really, really encourage you to do, and hopefully from today, you'll see the impetus to really be doing this from year one and semester A in year one, proactively engaging with the career service. We have CV and application advice appointments. You're also able to book designated time with not only your careers consultants, but specifically your school's careers consultants. And as you can imagine, it's in their wheelhouse to be very proficient and knowledgeable about what makes a standout CV for your specific interests. So yeah, there'll be stuff given to you in curriculum, resources that you can access online via the Careers and Enterprise website, but also really encourage you just to, certainly by the end of semester one, give yourself a goal to have booked a careers advice appointment and or a CV application advice appointment to have those things looked at, particularly as you want to hit the ground running when it comes to year one opportunities. I'm sure that might be touched on later.
Perfect. Thank you, Pash. And did you guys make use of the career service at all during your time at Queen Mary? Aaliyah's nodding.
Yeah, I did. I did. And I think even at the career services, it's a bit like a journey. You don't just meet them once or twice. You see them at different stages in your studies. I'm sure when you come as a new student in your first year, you're confused. It's normal to have lots and lots of questions. And it's normal to really go there quite often. And then the second year, even more often because you're applying for training contracts and all sorts of things. And then in your third year, you actually go for feedback and you actually go lots of questions like that. So it's a journey. It's really good practice to be there, seek feedback, and seek advice at any stage.
Perfect. And Nikita's asked, when about did if you started looking for training contracts, but was there a certain period that you started looking at that stage? Aaliyah, do you want to jump in?
I think I had less of a traditional route for that. I was very unsure of where to qualify and everything seemed so uncertain, but I started looking after I graduated Queen Mary, kind of in parallel of my qualification process in France. And it took me about 2 years to find a training contract, a year and a half. So I would definitely say even if you aren't certain if you want to qualify in the UK, it's always better to start second year, get in as many activities and pro bono and anything that you can start doing, do it as early as possible, because it takes about a year or so to get to grips with all the application processes, the tests, the questions, and so on. So start as early as you can. And yeah.
Perfect, thank you. I think it's also worth kind of mentioning. Go on, Pash.
So I could just add to that. It is worth being aware that a lot of certainly larger law firms also offer insight opportunities for first year students. These are typically insight days, so definitely, and those are typically advertised, for both spring and summer. For spring, it will mean kind of developing that awareness and being ready to apply in semester of your first year, which sounds kind of early, but conversely, they're not expecting a lot, so don't worry about having that fully developed CV with a lot of different things on it at this point, but just something to remain aware of as you come into your first year. Again, we're here to kind of signpost you to these resources and support you with that application journey.
Thank you, Pash. And actually, that probably leads on nicely something you can answer, which we kind of obviously touched on before, but this just expands on it a little. Is does Queen Mary provide assistance to students in finding and applying for vacation schemes, or are students expected to apply on their own? I can help with this as well.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say it's a bit of both. Look, we certainly, my colleagues who work at see more law students than I do, but even in, with law students, I've seen really everything from CV application advice to getting over the line, practice interview appointments, etc. So we're there to really support you at every step of the way. In terms of searching and applying, there'll be firms that you're aware of, that you're conscious of, that have strong employer branding and marketing. So you'll see them on campus at events. You'll see them during the law week. They'll be running activities and insight sessions on campus. So there will be those employers that will be proactively getting in front of you. There will be some firms that you'll have no doubt heard of, that you'll be proactively kind of visiting their careers pages. We'll also be familiar with leading job boards for jobs in the industry, etc. So I think it's fair to say it's a bit of both. And proactive students, we want to help you develop that further. So yeah, just do engage, and yeah, think that careers can support you at every step of the journey.
Totally, thank you. And actually, just inboxes that I manage, we get a lot of firms coming to us and saying, we've got opportunities coming up, can you send this round to your students? And luckily for us, because we have lots of brilliant students to go and do internships at firms, they help build the reputation for us that they want more students, which is really nice. So there's always opportunities that come up that the careers team will share with you. And it's, as Pash said, we'll provide all the support for you in terms of preparation for that, making sure your CV's there, but we don't obviously do the interview for you or find those opportunities necessarily. It's giving you the right tools so you can go away and be successful in those as well. And just one more point on that, and then there's some nice questions about first year and all that kind of stuff, so we'll go on to them. But we have which you might have heard of, a law in practice program, which is something you can apply to once you start. It's particularly for those that are just on the standard law program, that a 3-year program, not ones for the study abroad year. But you have the opportunity there to go and work in a 3rd year, to take a year away and then come back for your 4th year at a firm that we've built connections and partnerships with, which is a brilliant opportunity for you to be paid and have an internship and go away and come back with some practical experience you can use in your final year. So if there's people that are worried about legal experience, that's a really brilliant opportunity that Queen Mary offer. And each year the number of placements build and build and build, because our students have such good time there and they are really successful at the firm. So we end up having people saying, oh, we'll take more students because they can see the value in it. And I'm sure a figure one of my colleagues said to me was 99% of people come back for training contract from those placements, and the only 1% was someone that already had one. So it's a really good success rate for students to go on to do law in practice. But if you want to do that, you can apply for that in your 2nd year. Okay, right, there's some nice questions coming up. What is some advice you would give to 1st year law students? I think that's a really lovely question. Linda, let's come round to you.
Yeah, of
Thinking
course.
back.
Yeah, thinking back, I would say definitely join a bunch of organizations. So I think I mainly did that maybe in my 2nd year only, just because I think it's a great way to also meet people, like also, yeah, of course, to get involved, but also to just broaden your network. And, I think it's also very important to have the people you study with, like just to have a good time at the university, to be honest. And then also, of course, for jobs, to show that you're already involved. As we were saying, the 1st year schemes, I have one of my friends, she did a 1st year student scheme, Active for Chance, and that's how she ended up getting her training contract and has been working ever since there. So I think that's a really great opportunity to also, because of course, then also for the applications, you should be showing your involvement at the school. So I would say that that's definitely the best piece of advice I could give for now.
Perfect. Arjan?
Well, in your first year, I think the first year is also a time to actually do a lot of co-curricular. You do have more time. And at least on my course and at my time, the first year wasn't counted towards the degree. At least that's what, we all sort of told ourselves that this is a bit like a practice year. But no, we did study, and but I think it is the year that you should at least just start to explore pro bono legal advice center. You should start to explore all the amenities that come with the academics, because in the second year, I'm not saying it may be too late, but it may be too late to explore. It's in the second year is more about utilizing those services, and the first year is all about exploring them and really getting a feel of them. And then you don't have to actually use all of them. It's not like you should spend your semester going for advice, or spend your semester sitting at the LAC. It's not that. You should pick a couple that you really enjoy and that help you in your sort of legal education, and then you just carry on with it like just another module or like just another seminar.
Perfect. Elia?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that was said. I wish I had got more involved in my first year, because it is harder to then get involved in the second and third when there is more work. It really is about finding your balance in the first year of how much extracurricular and how much time you have to dedicate to actually getting that first or the grade that you want to get, and then tweaking it a bit, that perfect balance in second and third year. Again, at my time, the first year didn't count towards your final grade. So really utilize that time to find your balance, get in as many extracurriculars you can get without compromising your grades, and just, finding that balance would be my best advice.
Brilliant. That's really helpful. And someone's also asked, where is it gone? Could you give a realistic example of a day in the life as a lawyer? Which is a really fun question. Who wants to go first on that one?
Everyone's days are very different. I think they're very different.
Maybe, I mean, as a transactional lawyer at Kirkland and Ellis, I'll say there's a lot of emails, a lot of emails. You do have to love drafting those. There's a lot of very tedious work, making sure that all the same documents that you draft are the same. I personally love it because I'm an extrovert. I love client contact. I love calling up the client saying, look, we need this, that. It's very fast paced, and it's very enjoyable.
Perfect. Linda, anything to add about life as a lawyer?
No, I think that was actually perfectly said. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's also very rewarding. And I think every day is kind of also different, or it looks different, also whatever practice area you're in. But yeah, I think if you do a back scheme or like a training contract, you definitely do get a good look at what it's like, and then see if it's for you and what type of law you want to practice. So definitely recommend doing that as a bit of like a preview of what it's going to be like.
I have
Brilliant.
to add in that one thing that came to me a bit like a shock when I started in economic offenses was there's actually a lot of forensic and a lot of due diligence when you do with clients. And I don't know I don't know if this still happens in the UK, but at least in the tax world and economic offense world in India, we sort of do internal investigations for companies. So that is really it. You almost feel like a detective, and that's not what I thought. The legal practice will be. So it is time consuming. It's really minute work, scanning each and every email, looking at every document that comes in an email. But and then really just finding the rat that's hiding inside some email. It's almost like finding a little pin in a haystack. So it's very tedious.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, we have some questions about modules which I can help with, and then stuff that you guys can maybe contribute towards thinking back to your time. So there's some questions about module selection. So when it comes to your modules, and particularly in your first year, you don't have much flexibility because we have foundations of law that you have to cover as part of your LLB. So you won't have flexibility to choose modules until your second and third year mostly, in most cases, unless you're on senior status or law and politics or law with business, which has a slightly different structure. But if we stick with just a standard law program, you will have modules, then you get to choose second and third year, which is where your interests come into play. So you won't have to worry too much about module selection in your first year. Part of the questions would be that we've got here is like, does it matter what modules you pick at university? So would you say, you guys, the modules kind of influenced you into your pathways? I know you said that criminal law was something that you're interested in. You've all kind of gone into a different commercial kind of sector. Do you feel it helped you at all when it came to choosing pathways for the future?
Well, if I go first, I'd say I think if I remember correctly, we do get 2 or 3 options in the second and third year, something like that. So yes, I think the first pick is always what you want to do after education. You do pick a module, what you want in whatever phase you want to work. So that's an obvious thing. But I also picked a module depending on how it was examined and assessed. And I think that's a very important way of also choosing your modules, because there's some modules that are assessed 100% on your exam. So, everything is based on the exam. And then there's some modules which are broken into either halves of, an essay writing and then an exam, or they're even broken into 25, 25, 25, or they're even half-year modules where they're just assessed for half the credits. So I'd say it's a mix of everything. It's a mix of what you want to do after Queen Mary, how you handle stress. I mean, I personally picked a few modules that, gave me some option to, get some marks on essays, because I felt, what if my exam just didn't go too well? So it's a mix of a few things.
And that's very helpfully answered another question who someone was asking about examination. Linda, have you got any thoughts on that at all in terms of modules and how that helped?
Yeah, so what I could just maybe elaborate on that is that I think it's maybe a little tricky, because on the one hand, you of course want to focus on like what you're most interested in. And that's why, for example, I took all the like criminal law related classes. On the other hand, I would say it's also like a good opportunity to kind of explore other areas of law. So like I didn't really give myself the opportunity to maybe branch out a bit more. So I would say maybe trying to find a good balance. And then also, just because you're interested in studying that, I think like Adia said before, maybe in practice, that's not really what you want to do. So I did also at some point apply to some jobs on the corporate side. And then I did find myself struggling a bit, like justifying why I was the ideal candidate, given that I had taken all the like criminal law classes, versus like maybe more business related. That's also why during my master's, then I decided to do like the business law certificate, just to give myself the options and to also see whether that was something that I was more interested in. So I would maybe say it's good to focus on what you're interested in and figure out if that's what you kind of want to do, but then also give yourself the opportunity to maybe explore some other areas of law and see if that's, on the one hand, what you're interested in, but also on the other hand, like that could also be very beneficial for other jobs that you're applying for, which are maybe unrelated to what you thought you originally wanted to do.
I also think, Charlotte, just to add, a lot of the recommended optional modules that you out of that big bowl that you get to pick, they sort of somewhere do meet your module that you're picking for your career. I mean, for example, I wanted to go ahead with crime and revenue, that's tax and economic offenses. But I also picked up law and globalization as a 15-credit course. And there was even energy law, which I think was environmental law. So environmental law, which somehow, has shaped my career, because there's a conversation about green taxes across the world now. And, there's a conversation about international law and globalization. So I think these smaller modules, which are worth 15 credits, can really meet your larger goal of, going into a certain direction also. I think it's important for the student to really read through the module and, what is being taught that year in that module.
Perfect, thank you. And a question that kind of led on from that was, when it comes to applying for jobs, would you say the university kind of modules that you took held as much weight as the extracurricular stuff you did? So kind of employability stuff or gaining experience? Aaliyah?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the question. Wait, can you repeat it?
Yeah, so the question is clearly,
Mm.
do the modules you take hold as much weight as extracurriculars?
So yes and no. Yes, in the sense that it will give you a clearer sense of maybe preparing fact scheme interviews and why, especially at bigger law firms. I mean, I relate to Linda in that if you've never taken corporate law and you're applying to A&O and Reed Smith and this and that, it will be hard to say, I want to be a transactional lawyer. But at that point, I mean, as a first, second, third year, without any experience, you could be interested in a module without even knowing what the day-to-day entails. So I think both are equally important, and it is about, and I agree with everyone when everyone said, you know, pick modules that interest you, but then again, one or two that might be, you know, that you don't think interest you, but is important for the commercial world. Yeah, I think try and strike a balance again. That'll be my answer for both.
No, that's great. Thank you. Aaliyah, there's actually a question quite specifically for you. Can you tell us more about your pathway after you finished your LLB program to then go and pass the New York bar?
Right. So after my LLB, to be honest, COVID happened. I graduated in 2020 from Queen Mary, and I thought I would paralegal until I found a training contract. And honestly, thankfully, I didn't find a paralegal job at the time, and it allowed me to explore other options. And I was watching a YouTube video, Gordon Chung, who is like a reference in the TC world. He trained at Baker McKenzie, and he had a similar problem and passed the New York bar. I won't say that the New York bar will increase your chances of getting a vac scheme or training contract. It's not true. It's just a good way of, it honestly taught me how to work and cram a lot of information at once, and it's always very impressive, but I won't say that's the winning ticket to a TC or a vac scheme. I'm American as well, so there was that going into play. But yeah, that's why I took the New York bar after Queen Mary, to be honest.
Great, thank you. That's really helpful. Actually, one probably for Arjun, it's from someone from India. Obviously, probably quite concerned. They said, if I do an LLB from QM, will the jobs offered to me be better or at least equally reputable as people here in India?
You know, if there are any Indian friends of mine on this thing, I just would say this is a stereotype. Please get rid of the stereotype. I'm an example, and a lot of my friends in my batch were examples. No, it's not more or less beneficial. There's nothing like that. I think what's important to really keep in mind is, and I know it's a bit, it's a premature thought to have when you go for undergrad studies, but you should have some idea as to where you want to practice immediately after your 3 or 4 years. And I feel like I got the pandemic for me was a bit of a blessing in disguise, because I did fly back to India because of the emergency, but I did make use of those 2 years of shutdown to really pass the bar in India. And I could intern online, and you could almost have two lives, because you were living virtually and working virtually. But I do feel like for students wanting to go to London now to study, uh, I'd say stick on for 4 or 5 years, or if you do want to come back after your course immediately, you should be prepared to give a year and a half of the bridge course. So you just have to do that. And I think that's a practice with a lot of European countries also, because a lot of my friends in Romania had to actually fly back to Bucharest and pass the bar, and you can't practice before you pass the bar.
Perfect,
So it's not
thank
a
you.
disadvantage. Please, it's just stereotype.
Glad to hear it. So a couple of questions, probably a little bit away from talking about careers, which might be a nice break for you guys. So you were all international students. Was what was the transition like for you moving to the UK? Linda, we haven't heard from you for a while. I'll come to you.
Yeah, of course. So I thought it was pretty normal, fine. I don't know. After high school, I was only 17, and I think when you're a bit younger, I guess everything's exciting. You're not as like worried. I mean, I think maybe at this point, if I just moved to a different country, I'd feel a bit stressed out. But back then, I kind of just wanted to come to London and study here and experience life in London. So for me, it was quite an easy transition, I'd say. You know, it was pretty easy finding friends. Like there's so many international students, especially at Queen Mary or generally in London. So I really enjoyed it. And for me, it was not difficult at all. But I can also understand that, I mean, I moved from Vienna, so it's not super far away. Of course, if you maybe move across the world, that's a bit of a bigger transition. But yeah, for me, it was great, you know, living in a different city, getting to study the law there. So I would recommend it, yeah.
Perfect. Elia, how about you?
Was the question the transition from high school to Queen Mary or Queen Mary to
I think
back
it's
home?
about like,
Oh, okay.
I've read it as country moving to another country.
Oh, okay. Yeah, same as Linda. I thought, yeah, at the time I was young, carefree, really excited to be in London. And I feel that now if I have to move back to London now, it would be a bigger move and more things to take into consideration. But from taking the degree from Queen Mary back home, I think what helped was I really did the dual degree. That really helped me, to be honest, to justify with my employers, you know, I have common law experience, civil law knowledge, hire me, basically.
Perfect. Arjan, what about you?
I think I'll add on Alia and Linda. I mean, London is one of the most international cities, and Queen Mary has a very, I think Queen Mary has an exceptionally international sort of, student base, and that professors travel from all over the world to really teach at Queen Mary. So you never really feel like an outsider. But what I do have to say, I personally found it very easy to mix around, but I do acknowledge that some find it harder. But all I can say is it's almost like being in play school or like boarding school all over again because you're away from your family. I mean, whoever is flying into London is away from family. And if you look around you, everyone is away from family. And, what I do recommend though, I don't know if everyone on this panel is like, got to do that, but I'd say, please stay on campus in the first year. I mean, please book your accommodations on time because it's really nice meeting people from different courses. I mean, in the apartment I lived in, I was the only law student. But besides making friends in your degree, it's also nicer to make neighbors, and they almost become like your family if you really, book your accommodations on time.
That's a really nice tip of advice from my university experience.
It
I
really
certainly
helped
felt the
me. I
same.
mean, I think I felt really at home in the next month of joining because you feel good when you're around people who are all away from family. You're not the only one.
Totally. How was the environment for you? Did you find Queen Mary friendly or?
I found it friendly. I found it friendly, and I felt like I had a couple of people say it's so scary. There's a cemetery on campus, but that's the exciting part. It's
Now
fun.
everyone's wondering what the hell that is.
Yes.
So for anyone wondering, there is a cemetery on campus, and actually a nice thing I think for us is it's right outside the law building, but it's a Jewish cemetery. It's listed, it was there before the university was, and in the spring all the flowers come out and it looks really beautiful. Quite recently all the bluebells were in the cemetery, which is really nice. So please don't be scared or concerned. It's a cemetery in the middle of campus. Only friendly ghosts, I'm sure. Anyone else got any kind of stories or ideas about how they felt when they came, the environment, what it was like, what are the academics like? How did you find the teaching?
Oh, I was going to talk about the campus and the cemetery,
go
but just
for it.
just
Yeah.
to say that Queen Mary is one of the only few universities that has an actual campus. And that definitely helps to make it feel more friendly, homely, as Arjun said, because the accommodation is on campus. You're walking only 5 minutes to classes. It is a really nice feature of Queen Mary. So yeah, just putting that, despite the cemetery, which is lovely, people come to visit it. You can watch all the you know, the people from the library when you're a bit bored. It's lovely.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
agree. I would just say that the fact that Queen Mary has such a nice big campus was such a blessing, because I feel like after first year, you really like, because you all lived together, even if you weren't in the same building, like you were literally a minute away, you'd go shopping together, grocery shopping together, you do your laundry together, whatever it is. And I think second year, I really missed that then when you moved, you know, somewhere else, to not have your friends literally right next to you. So I think that is such a nice thing. And the campus itself is also beautiful. So yeah.
If you haven't visited already, please come and see us before you start in September. Pash said lovely. Yeah, canal side and the park is really lovely.
I mean, I do recommend the campus tour to those who are visiting. I think they start in June or July. I did a campus tour. I do recommend that.
Nice to get a bit of a feel. And if anyone here watching is going to be in London at all, do let us know. And we can always arrange for someone to come and take you around and have a chat with someone from the law school as well. It's absolutely no problem. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left. There's more questions. We're not going to get through them all, but there's questions here. I'm going to go with the broadest ones. So how to figure out, so I guess you guys probably would have gone through this thought process. How did you figure out if you wanted to train as a barrister or solicitor, or what route you wanted to go down? Anyone want to take that one? Aliyah, go. She's
No,
nodding.
I was thinking, yeah, it's a very difficult decision to make, to be honest, and it's a shame we have to make it in this jurisdiction because it's not the case in a lot of other jurisdictions. But I think it really depends on what type of law you want to do. Because some practices, say criminal, civil litigation, this, that, personal injury, they lend themselves more to being a barrister, whereas the more transactional ones lend themselves more to being a solicitor. There's just more work. And just the way the system is built, if you're a barrister in, you know, finance or corporate, it's just you are instructed by solicitors. And so you don't, it's the client relationship is not the same. So yeah, I think choose the practice first that interests you the most, and then that will come naturally.
Lovely, thank you. And I'm going to take one more. There was a really nice one I just saw. Here we go. Tanushka asked, were the professors at Queen Mary friendly and approachable? There's other stuff with it, but let's go with that. That's the broadest bit, and I'll answer the rest. Linda?
Yeah, I thought they were very friendly and approachable. So you had the lectures where obviously you were a bunch of people, but I always thought that like certain professors, or actually most of them, were always very funny also. Like they try to not make it super boring, but like throw in some jokes, or like make sure that it was also like entertaining to kind of sit there for 2 hours and watch. So I thought that was really great. And then also when you have your like smaller seminars, it would be very interactive, and you know, they make sure that you understood everything, but then also on the others, like also contributed your ideas. So I thought it was all around very, yeah, super friendly. I'd never had a unfriendly professor or like a bad experience. So that was at least my experience.
Perfect. Arjan, what about you? How did you find the teaching? Oh, you're on mute. There we go.
The teaching faculty is spectacular. They're really approachable. And what I really like is that I remember, you know, after the large lectures would finish, you could actually go down to the podium, to the stage, and have a small chat with them if there's something you didn't understand. But what was really helpful were the seminars, because sometimes the lecturer could be a seminar professor also. I personally really enjoyed all my teachers. I think they all were fun, and they all were really clear and articulate when they spoke on stage or at any lecture theater or seminar. And I think if you can't understand anyone, or you have queries, they're very easily approachable, which is the most important thing, to be approachable. Because also like an international setting like Queen Mary, it is normal and it is okay for someone to have a slight language barrier. It's completely okay, for people to have different accents, for people to have a slightly slower understanding, and that's okay. Uh, I don't think my peers or I ever faced any issue about coherence about any professor. So it was fantastic.
Perfect. Okay, last question, which is one from me rather than the audience, and the last 3 minutes is if you could give any advice for people for their LLB coming up, what would it be? Aaliyah, I'm going to come to you first because the other two have just spoken. I know she's thinking. Top tip.
I think give it your all. Just dive into it. Be curious. Use all the amenities, the office hours. Just really dive into it. These will be the best years of your life. I wish I was a student at Queen Mary again. Makes me emotional. Yeah, dive into it. It's the best years of your life.
Great one. Linda, top tip?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think my dad always said to me, like, your university is like the best 3 years of your life. And I always thought, oh, yeah, of course, he's gonna say that. But it's so true. Like, it really is. Once you leave it, you really wish you'd go back. So I totally understand that. I would say, yeah, use every opportunity, really involve yourself, because I feel like the time passes so fast. Like, after, you start studying, and then after a year, you're already done with the first year. So really use all those like first year opportunities, whether it be like the associations or work related, meeting everyone that you can, go to all the events, but really just enjoy yourself and have a good time. And yeah, I think you'll love it.
Brilliant. And then lastly, Arjun, back to you.
I think my tip is, yeah, of course, have a lot of fun, because you're going to do it only once. But do not, I think a lot of times, which is something we all probably did, including Linda, Alia, is, get stressed about that one streamline, that this is the path, XYZ person has got this and I have not got this and I have not got that. But when I look back and I see, my younger friends now going into university, I think law is a universe. I mean, you could be a solicitor and a barrister, but you could also be an amazing legal journalist. You could also be someone in law and media. You could also be an in-house counsel. You could be, there's law and medicine. So law is huge. I think you should just have fun, really recognize what you enjoy. And it doesn't matter if you follow the conventional way or you don't. It really doesn't matter, because you look back after 5 years and you just have to feel accomplished, and that's the best feeling ever, besides anything else that happens.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That was really nice to finish off with. So I'm going to close it there. Linda, Arjun, Aaliyah, and Pash as well. Thank you so much for your time. It's really appreciated to have you here. And I'm sure hearing your answers to these questions has been really helpful to everyone watching. So thank you so much.
Remembering everything that we did at Queen Mary. It's a bit like a
Yeah, it's a
reunion.
throwback. Don't
Suddenly-
hesitate to contact us on LinkedIn. I just wanted to say that. Alia Aki.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I hope it's been a nice trip down memory lane.
Yes,
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to close this here. This webinar has been recorded, so I will send this out to those that have attended. So if you want to look back, please do. And I wish you a lovely rest of the day wherever you are. So take care and bye-bye. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.